for some people to log on. Good night, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, you wonderful people. Good night. What's the tea? What's the tea she's asking? We're going to be talking about the resumption of face-to-face. Hi, Sophia. How are you? How's the weather in Canada? Miss Andrews, how are you? You can't hear? Why is that? You still can't hear me? Good night, my dear. Someone is saying they can't hear. Oh, good. I'm good. Good. You can hear me. Sophia, what's really going on with Trudeau, though? Trudeau about to freeze protesters' bank accounts and stuff. He has lost his mind. He's gonna freeze anti-vaccine protesters. He's gonna freeze their accounts. I read that. Hello, Mr. King. Good night. Hello, Judy. Oh, from New York City. How's the weather in New York City? How's the weather up there? She said she's not touching that one. Well, the world will be watching, so we'll see how that pans out. Good night, Vincent. How are you? How are you? I hope everybody's in good health. I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking about the resumption of face-to-face school, which is scheduled to start on Monday. And there was a press conference held this evening by the new Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, and she was accompanied by the Chief Education Officer and the Chief Medical Officer. And there are a few things that I just want to have a short discussion with you about. Firstly, I hope that you parents are ready for the resumption of face-to-face. You have been calling for it for the past couple of months. So I am hoping that those of you who were eagerly anticipating the return to the classrooms are ready and equipped to ensure that this occurs seamlessly for all involved, teachers and students. Our education officer stated that there are 4 requirements for the resumption of face-to-face, and they are expecting the wearing of masks to continue. All students are supposed to be seated at 3 feet apart, and there will be sanitization stations located at all levels, I'm assuming placed strategically throughout primary and secondary schools. The chief medical officer would have stated, he made an interesting statement. He said that transmission of COVID-19 in schools is an unlikely event. That is what he has stated. He said it's more likely to occur in your homes, That is what the chief medical officer said. He says once the protocols are adhered to, there should be no mass spread of COVID-19. If a child, he says if a child or teacher is ill, they should remain at home. This is I'm assuming he's the doctor, he's the head, he knows what he's talking about. But here's the thing. If it is most likely for a child to become infected in your home, that child goes into the school environment and mingles with their friends. So to say that it is unlikely is kind of iffy, but hey, he's a doctor, so he would have to know. What I would suggest to you is that you encourage your children to follow the protocols. As difficult as that may seem, um, I think by now they should be in the habit of sanitizing their hands, knowing how to wear their mask correctly and how to remove their mask. They should be encouraged to avoid the touching of surfaces unnecessarily when they return to the classroom. No sharing of drinks, food, lunch, snack, or anything of the sort is to be encouraged. If you know that your child is not feeling well, um, and this may be difficult too because there are children who may not have any symptoms at all, and you may send them to school. In the instance where a child may be exhibiting symptoms, they will be sent to a sick bay or an area in the school designated for, you know, isolation, quarantining, or for lack of a better word. And you will be called to collect your child from the school. You really cannot expect it to be business as usual. You know, teachers tend to be very nurturing and motherly, and in the past, a teacher may notice a child not feeling well, and the first instinct is to go and to touch and to, to hug. You're not feeling well. Do you need something to eat? Do you need something to drink? A child's nose may be running. You want to take some tissue paper and you're wiping it, and all these different things. You really cannot expect that to occur in this current environment, because teachers have families also, teachers have children also, so they now have to not only think about themselves, but they have to think about their own personal families, and if they have elderly parents, all of these dynamics have to be considered, when we think about how we are now going to interact in this school environment. This is not going to say that teachers are not going to be caring or patient or that type of thing, but certain situations have to be approached with caution. Make sure that your children have hand sanitizers, liquid hand wash if possible. If you don't have masks, schools will be providing masks. But these are the things that they really should have going back into the classroom on Monday. We want everything to be as incident free as possible. So you parents have to work with the teachers. You have to work with the school administration to ensure that everything goes, without hiccups, without incident. Because we really don't want any outbreaks. We may have one or two incidences, but we don't want any further disruptions to the return to face-to-face. If you don't have a school uniform, you can wear a clean polo shirt, jeans, and your sneakers. If your child has outgrown the uniforms, obviously you will make this known to your child's form teacher, your school principal. You will alert them way in advance if you're having challenges. To those of you, someone is asking if they don't have school nurses in the school. No, school nurses in the school? No, we don't have school nurses. We have teachers who are trained to administer first aid and CPR, but there are no nurses allocated to primary or secondary schools. As far as I am aware, that would be ideal, but as you are aware, we have a shortage of nurses already, so I really don't see how that would be facilitated. I think maybe you would have to have it done like in zoning, where you would have a nurse who is rostered around certain schools or something like that. But we don't have school nurses. But that's a good suggestion that maybe the authorities could consider in times to come. For those of you who have an abundance of stationery, and supplies that you are willing to share, please share. Help those that are in need. If you are in need of assistance, you can drop me a private message, and if I can assist, I will. There's some parents who have very clean uniforms in very good conditions for certain schools. Um, if you indicate the school that you need a uniform for, I will make a post, and if someone is willing to donate, well, then obviously you can benefit from that. Yes, Mr. Castillo, that's a very good suggestion because some schools have sick days. Mind you, all schools do not have sick days. All schools don't have sick days, but some schools do have sick days. Um, but yeah, I think that all schools should be equipped. Primary and secondary schools should be equipped with a sick bay, that area where children can go to, with beds and bathroom facilities and stuff. That's important. That's very important. So again, for those of you who are in a position to help those in your communities with back to school supplies, whether it's stationery, whether it's face masks, hand sanitizers, liquid hand wash, or anything that you can. For some people whose children have outgrown their uniforms and who cannot afford to go and buy a jeans or a t-shirt, if you're willing to help them in that area as well, that would be greatly appreciated, because the reality is that if you have to pay rent and you have to buy food to feed your child, you ain't going to buy no school uniforms. It doesn't make sense. I wouldn't. I would feed my child first. So at this point in time, the emphasis really cannot be on purchasing brand new school uniforms for a term that is halfway to an end, and really and truly the academic year is almost over, because when we go into the third term, we are preparing for examinations. So I think it's very good of the ministry to take those things into consideration and take the fact that finances are tight all around. So do not stress yourself out over a school uniform or anything like that. If the child's games clothes can fit, that was an option given as well. The children can wear their games uniforms, or they can wear a plain colored t-shirt and jeans. Or if the uniforms are fitting and they don't have school shoes, they're being allowed to wear sneakers with their school uniforms. But obviously, courtesy dictates that you submit a letter to the form teacher, who will hand it over to the principal, because you don't want everybody turning up in one thing, the next thing, or the third thing. This is only if you don't have school uniforms, or the school uniforms are no longer fitting. We're in this together. Parents have to work with the teachers. Teachers have to work with the parents. It's a partnership. Contrary to what many people may think, teachers often get flogged or targeted with lots of negativity, because people think that, the online teaching, teachers don't teach, and all that stuff. Start to consider that even when we resume face-to-face, that teachers will still have to prepare lesson plans, people still have to create digital content, teachers still will be marking assignments online, because we really, you can't be expecting teachers to be touching up books and all these different things like that. So we will still be online in a blended way. So you will still have to check your Google Classroom, still have it synced to your cell phone to make sure that your children are online and doing what they're supposed to be doing, and make sure that you have a good relationship with your child's teacher, so that if you're not seeing those assignments coming, or you're not seeing notes posted, you send an email and you ask a question, what's going on, in a respectful way, of course, not in a bombastic manner. We ain't about that. We're about being respectful to teachers, and teachers being respectful to parents and students as we go forward. I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat, so I am really hoping that yes, thank you, Mr. Castillo. Teachers can be purchased from Upbeat or SY Adams. I can tell you that I will be wearing polo shirts. I go into SY Adams and I buy a polo shirt for $9.99 or sometimes $12, depending on the material, and I will be wearing my plain polo shirts with a slacks or a skirt depending on the day, and I will be going to work. Someone is saying I'm speaking from a secondary perspective. The protocols are the same for secondary and primary school. You still have to encourage the children to sanitize. You still have to encourage the primary school children to wear their masks properly, to practice social distancing. Obviously, in the primary school setting, you have to monitor those children more closely because they're little ones, obviously, and little ones love to explore and they love to play, and they are harmless in their approach and in their way of showing affection. So yes, the little ones are going to hug up and stuff. So you have to monitor that and you have to guide them. You have to guide them in that way. Children pattern their behavior by what they see. So if they see the adults in society doing the correct thing, they will do that also. Someone is asking about random testing. Yes, random testing was highlighted in the press conference. Please note that your child cannot be tested without your permission. So to that end, parents will be issued with parental consent forms. If you are giving permission for your child to be tested, you will sign that consent form, and I am assuming on that consent form there will be a disclaimer that says I do not give permission as well. So if you don't give permission, you don't give permission. Nobody can test your child legally without your permission. So no need to panic from that end. There's no need to panic. No person can test your child unless you give permission. Yes, Mr. Holt. Mr. Holt has a question. I'm scrolling to see your question. I'm not seeing it as yet. So did you put your question, Dante? I'm not seeing your question. Oh, okay. So I'm assuming I answered your question. Do we have any other questions that you would like a little clarity on? Yes, Chanel, it goes for first formers too. You just have to encourage them to follow the protocols. As I said, children pattern their behavior by what they see. If they see a blatant disregard for the protocols, rules and regulations, they will adopt that attitude. If they see the adults modeling positive behavior, they will model that behavior. So you encourage your children. They're going to be excited to see their friends. They're going to be excited to see their teachers. I would not try to restrict them from showing that excitement, but I will encourage them to know that still maintain their social distancing. They still have to be safe in all that they do. In instances where you know that you are going to send your child to school without lunch, please notify the farm teacher. Call ahead and say, okay, my child doesn't have lunch today. Can you please make sure that they get school meals? Please, don't put your child in a position to have to ask another classmate for lunch. Don't put your child in a position to want to bully another child for lunch money because they don't have. There are things in place to help those who are in need. All you have to do is to communicate effectively your needs to the school administration, and they will put measures in place to ensure that your child has lunch, to ensure that your child has a little snack or something to drink, and nobody will know. Nobody will know. Nobody should know. Let me say that. Nobody should know. I'm just scrolling through. Um, oh wow, your child was told today they might go back out until next term, and she's now going out to first form because it. Oh dear. Okay. So what is going to happen at some schools? It may differ among the schools. There will be a phased approach. The principal will notify you. Okay, Chanel. So over the next few days, just make sure that you check your child's email, or if you are in a parent WhatsApp chat, or you have your child's form teacher's contact information, just seek clarity on what is going to happen. There may be a phased approach. So let's say, for instance, your child is in group A. Maybe group A will go to school on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and group B will be online Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then your child will be online Tuesday and Thursday, and then group B will be face to face Tuesday and Thursday. It may differ. Sorry. So it boils down to the measures that the school administration put in place for the running of the particular school. I know for sure that class 4s in the primary and class 3s maybe in the primary school will be back out fully. Um, but again, primary school tends to be a tad bit different. They do things a little bit different to secondary schools. They do things a tad bit different. So you just have to ask the form teacher for clarity. The principal should be providing clarity before the week is over. So you may be invited to a parent meeting, and they will brief you on what to expect going forward. So don't be confused. Don't be too confused. What about the children who don't follow protocols? Well, if a child is not following the protocols, I am sure that the teacher will speak to that child and say, you were supposed to do X, but I see you're doing A, B, and C, and you're old enough to know better, and other children, are watching you do the wrong thing, and they may think that that is acceptable. Please note that in these COVID times, we really can't have anyone, adult or child, breaching protocols. Teachers have to do the right thing, students have to do the right thing, the guards at the school have to do the right thing, the members of the ancillary staff have to do the right thing. So, they will be spoken to, and if they don't know the right protocol, maybe they'll be given a little one-on-one session on how to follow protocols. And obviously, if that doesn't work, you'll call in the parent. I mean, what else can you do at that point in time? And my friend Kevin is saying that there is an app. There's a school alert app. I am assuming that app updates parents about what is going on. I've never used it, so I really don't know. Yes, school meals has to be still available. Once we return to face, school meals has to be available. And there are secondary schools. Once parents alert the form teachers and the heads, your heads are alerted, the guidance counselors are alerted. There is a list, and you contact the school meals department, and you have X amount of meals coming to the school to cater to those children who are in need, who need lunch on a daily basis. And I'll tell you though that even though some parents may notify the schools that their children need school meals, some of the children are embarrassed to go for the school meals. I remember what I had to do as a form teacher. I made school meals fun. I told my students, let me tell you something, right? You see, on a day when the school meals department do that pillow, that chicken pillow, and y'all ain't want to go for it when I'm making bear sport. So we would all go, the ones who need, or myself leading the pack, and we would go and get school meals, and we would go back to my room with the other kids who have their lunch, or who have packed lunch from home, or who would go to the canteen and buy lunch. And we would sit in my room, and we would all have lunch together. because there's nothing wrong with eating school meals. In primary school, I had school meals every day. I actually used to look forward to the little the red fruity milky thing that they used to give you, the fruity tutti milk, and the snacks and stuff like that in primary school. It was so cool. It was really really cool. I do not understand why it is now embarrassing to eat school meals. Why? You have to teach your children that there is nothing wrong with, not buying lunch. Not buy lunch. Like, why you gonna buy lunch? You could save money. If I could save money going to eat school meals. So school meals will be provided primary and secondary schools. Well, in cases where the children with the mask down and the teachers wearing the mask incorrectly, you highlight it. Highlight it. Because I don't know why a teacher would be wearing their mask incorrectly. I know that I have very bad sinus problems and I need mask breaks. If I wear a mask for an hour straight, I feel as though I'm going to hyperventilate and I have to take my mask off. I will either step out of the classroom, be away, and I will remove my mask for 5 minutes and breathe in fresh air, and then I will go again. There are some kids who are asthmatic, and it's not natural to wear a mask all day. It is just not natural. So I think that teachers have to use their discretion, and we are timetable to have little breaks in between. When we were online, we have the 5-minute breaks, and you have the 5-minute breaks for stretches and stuff like that. You can have the 5-minute breaks during your lessons for the children to step outside, take off their mask one by one, breathe in the fresh air, inhale, exhale, and then go back into the classroom. I mean, at this point in time though, you really have to be adapt. Nothing can be hard and fast. Nothing can be hard and fast right now. Mr. Castillo said he going for the school meals. Yes, go for the school meals. Lamar is saying, do people realize they want the children to be tested to make sure? Let me just read his comment, because I know Mr. Grant normally has very good points. He said, do people realize they want the children to be tested to make sure they don't bring anything in? But with the fact that kids are known to be the best carriers of this virus, I believe that they should be tested coming home also, because they may go in good, but going home is another story. Because let's face it, small children are not going to be as stringent in what they do as adults or older children. It's hard for them not to make mistakes with the protocol measures for that period of time that they're going to be in school, or for the ones that don't have the luxury of getting into a car going to and from school. They are children. They are known to be up on each other, so it will run the risk of the older persons and home being exposed. And what I will say to that, Lamar, is that just reinforces the importance for the adults to exhibit positive behaviors and to encourage the children to do the same, so that they will know, you can't be all up in your friend's face like how you normally were. You can't be touching up everybody and hugging up and touching up people's food and drinks and all these different things. They really can't be. They can't do it. And having said that, you cannot go and test people's children without their permission. You just can't do that. There is no legal grounds for that. These are minors that we're talking about, and I would not, if I had a child, I wouldn't want anybody testing my child for anything without me knowing about it. So when you say A, you have to say B. I think Dr. George said that the tests that they are awaiting are non-invasive. So I'm assuming that when those tests arrive on the island, that we will have a demonstration of how that testing of children will be carried out to put the parents at ease read the testing in schools. You're most welcome, Miss Moore. Um, so a question: what about the children who get to school early? Oh, listen, there will. Yeah, I think well, at my school, when children, we normally have people at school prior to 7 a.m. in the morning, and our guards are at school. Again, this is secondary school that I'm talking about, are at school. So the temperature checks normally start as early as 7. If you are dropping your child off to school earlier than that, um, chances are they may be asked to stay in a particular area, so that when a member of staff or the monitor, the temperature monitor arrives, it makes it easier for them to just form a line and have their temperatures checked, and then they can go on their way. I think that that is the most sensible solution for those parents who work shift, or who have to get to work early on mornings, and they have to take their children to school earlier than, earlier than desired or anticipated. They'll just wait in a particular area, and then when everything is in place, they come and they get their checks done, they sign in, and they go off to their classes. So I don't want to take up much more of your time. I hope that everything is clear for you. The fourths, the fifths, the 6 years are given preference right now, returning in the secondary school, along with the first years returning to school. Those are the ones who need to prepare for CXC, complete SBAs, and the first years need to experience what it's like being on the physical plant, going into the classrooms for the first time, going into the special areas like the industrial arts department, the visual arts area, the music room, the theater arts room, the home economics room. They need to experience that. So they're given preference in the primary schools. The class 4s and the class 3s, I believe, are returning. They have to maintain the 3 feet distance apart. So obviously the classes will be spread out across certain floors. Parents and teachers, it's a partnership. Teachers can't do it alone. Parents, you can't do it alone. You have to work together. Respect is utmost and paramount. Respect for the students, respect for the parents, respect for the teachers, respect for the members of the ancillary staff, respect for the principals, respect for the members of the board of management. And only a principal that does run a school. A principal cannot run a school without the support of the staff and without the support of the teachers. And this is also where the Parents Teachers Association can play a bigger role in the reintegration of the students, going back to face for those who need assistance. Children need stationery, children need bags, some children need plain shirts and jeans or shoes to get to school. If you have uniforms that are clean or in good condition that you are willing to donate, my suggestion is that you contact your school and say, hey, I have 3 uniforms for this primary school. Maybe there are children who need. So there should be a food bank at every school. There should be a uniform bank at primary schools and secondary schools, which makes it easier for those in need to access these things. That is what I am thinking. So if you have uniforms to donate, contact your head, your form teacher, your principal, and say, listen, my child outgrew these uniforms. Do you know anyone who would benefit or who can benefit from them? Wash them, make sure they're clean, put them in a bag, and take them to the school and give to the form teacher or give to the principal. The principal will know how to allocate the uniforms. The principal will have a list of children who are most in need that would benefit. If you have an abundance of stationery, pens, pencils, reams of paper that you're willing to donate to your school first, to your primary or your secondary school first, and they will allocate the items to those in need. There are some of you who may not want to go that route. You may want to send me a private message, and if I am in a position to help, I will. I've already said that for some people who have challenges financially, I will go out and I will purchase some stationery items for families that are in need, so that you can make sure that your kids get back to school on Monday. So I hope that this live has been helpful. Again, all of the information will be sent to you. Check your emails, because I'm sure that your form teachers will be sending out emails to you, updating you about what to expect when school resumes next week. So yes, you're asked not to drop them off, but some parents have no choice. You can't leave the children out on the road. So if they're dropped to school early, they're allowed on the school compound, and they'll be asked to stay in the area. I hope that the information has been helpful. Again, I do encourage you to forge a cordial and healthy relationship with your child's teacher. It is in your best interest to have that relationship. It is in your best interest to know what is going on, so that you can work with your child's teacher to ensure that they have a healthy, holistic, and wonderful school experience. I wish you God safety. Stay safe. God bless. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Bye bye.